Freeway Rick Ross
in the building.
is here.
What's up?
We were just talking about the Grammys last night and the Red Hot Chili Peppers showing up and everything, but
Good, sir.
welcome, my friend.
Yeah, glad to be back.
Good to see you, man.
Old friends.
Yeah.
You said you're in town doing something. What do you do? No, you came in for a reason. You're doing some other show.
No. I'm here because my new book came out. I'll be seeing Gary Vee today, meeting with him. I think that his philosophy is so much like mine. You know, when I hear him speak, I was like, wow, this guy says everything that I think. You know.
Yeah.
So,
do you think you get enough respect as a businessman? Because your story is amazing. I think most people know it by now, but you made somewhere in the neighborhood of $900 million in the drug trade years ago, to the point where it actually, with inflation and everything, looks more like $2.5 billion by 2019 numbers.
I don't think people respect my business mind.
Yeah, I don't think they look at you like an entrepreneur.
No, they don't. They don't. And I'm definitely that, because I believe that everything that has happened to me in my life has been behind my entrepreneurship. You know, from going to prison, I tell people that you can't just walk up to a federal prison and knock on the door and say you want to go in. You know, you have to earn it.
Yeah. You have to apply.
Yeah, they have to accept you
into
the club.
Investigation.
So does it annoy you when you see like El Chapo in like Forbes? You know, as a guy who's like, they're looking at him like he's a businessman.
Absolutely,
right. It's all the timing too. Like now I feel like the giant drug dealers are getting TV series made of them, and they're being made kind of into heroes.
Enormous TV shows. I mean,
yeah.
Escobar has like 4 series going on Netflix right now with different people playing him and so forth. So it's well, I mean, the world has a fascination with drug dealers. I mean, we have to come to grips with that. Most people don't want to admit it, but I mean, that's the way it is. You know, we love drug dealers. I loved drug dealers before I was one. You know,
right?
So when I saw the movie Superfly, I was like, oh my God. That's who I want to be like. Arthur Ashe is not the right guy.
Yeah. For many reasons.
So, we as a country, we have, you walk in anybody's house, they got a picture of Scarface, Well,
they find them in a lot of the cartels when they raid those, like the real cartel
really?
guys in Mexico. They find Scarface posters. Like those real guys love Al Pacino.
And everybody loves the first 2/3. Nobody likes the end. Nobody pays any attention to the end of the drug dealer movies. They all like the first 2/3.
You don't want that part. The cold jail cells. The meals.
What a change in lifestyle.
Oh, it's dramatic. I mean, you go from high to low real fast.
Yeah.
They be talking about in those songs from 0 to 60 real fast, where you go real fast from sleeping in.
But especially just because you're so hot, like you're sleeping in the greatest bed ever. You got women everywhere. It's like when you're broke and then you go to jail, it's probably not that different. But being a billionaire,
they don't really put broke people in jail.
They don't.
I mean, not super broke. If it's crazy. I mean, the guys who go to jail for having money, or is one thing, and then if you go out and commit a violent crime, then you'll go to jail if you broke. But I'm saying, like, in the drug business, they don't keep the broke drug dealers in jail. They just don't.
Right.
I mean, they take the broke drug dealers and they try to get them to flip over on the ones that are actually making money, right?
Absolutely.
That's the whole deal.
That's the whole deal.
So when you're Rick Ross and you go to jail, how do people treat you when you walk in? Are they nice to you, or are they not? Or are there other guys who are they not kind to you? Because I don't think I would do very well in that scenario.
No, you don't think so, Jim?
I have a nicer hiney than one would think.
We're gonna keep you out of there.
Because Bubble Butt's walking through.
Oh my God, yeah. Fucking yeah.
Well, I'm fortunate to be who I am, and I do get quite a bit of respect. Even the guards, the guards who like me, they really like me, and then the ones who don't, they hate me. But most of the inmates, for the most part, I was able to literally cross lines that they don't allow a lot of people to cross when they're in prison.
Was that because you kind of were wholesaling to the gang, so like you kind of knew guys from both sides?
I did, but even past that, even with the Hispanic gangs and the white gangs, they even gave me a bit of leeway that they don't give other black guys in prison.
Like what?
Sitting at certain tables, going over in a certain area of the jail. Jail is very segregated. You know, they have their territories, you know, where the Crips will have their area, the Bloods will have their area, then the Mexican Mafia have their area, the white supremacists will have their area. So it's very segregated. And if you sit on one of those areas or one of those tables in a chow hall, you're in violation. If you turn...
No gentrification in jail.
No, they're not politically correct at all in jail. So what happens if you walk in and you're like at the Mexican Mafia's table or the white supremacist table just having a snack?
Yeah. It could start a war. You know, because they're going to come up and say something to you. You know, oh, you at our table, you ain't supposed to be on this table. And they're not supposed to do nothing to you because that could start a race war with the whole thing, because it's kind of like incorrect for white supremacists to do something to a black in jail. A black is not supposed to do nothing to a white supremacist or Mexican unless they go and get permission from the gang.
Because it's going to be a problem.
It's going to start something huge.
It's going to be something huge.
So would you be able to say, well, gentlemen, I was sitting here first?
No.
Okay.
No, they'll be like, well, we've been sitting here for 30 years.
Right. This is our land. This is our territory.
So they gave you a certain amount of leeway.
Yeah. I got a little leeway, you know, that they didn't give a lot of black guys, you know, and I respected it and I tried to use it the right way and never to violate that privilege that I understood that I was getting. How do you,
when you're in jail, how do you line up guys who are going to look out for you? Like, I mean, I know how I'd probably be expected to do it. It would be an unpleasant way. I'll clean the socks of a larger man. But I imagine that...
You'd be the reason why those socks were dirty.
Yes, I would be. So, how do you line up guys who are going to, like, look out for you?
Well, you know, for me, Jim, it's totally different from you because you're not from the streets, so you don't know nothing about this stuff.
I know. People look at me and they do think I'm street, but I'm really not. I'm
well, you know, Rick, you may not know this, but Jim Norton was in a gang when he was young.
Yeah.
When I was 12 or 13, we did try to start.
What was the name of the gang?
The Lords.
Because it's really hard. It's really hard
to go ahead and move past that entirely.
It's really hard to line up people that's gonna be loyal to you if you're not really from where they from, because more than likely they're gonna be scheming on you. You know, it's a lot of that where I mean, I see young guys coming in all the time and they're scared. They don't know what to do, and then they go running to certain people, and these people are gonna take advantage of them. So you have to be really careful about who you align yourself with, because once you align yourself to a gang, now you've literally taken an oath to uphold whatever they stand for. So you have to be really careful about who you aligning yourself with. But you know, it's guys, you know, like they say when Suge went to prison, he went in and bought all the guys' TV sets and
so he bribed them.
Yeah,
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
Do you feel like you had to bribe him, or was
there... no. My status was totally... I had my credit coming from the streets already.
Right.
So when I got to prison, there was guys already in prison that I had ran with on the street. I looked out for, you know, who I'd help get money. So automatically when I came, they catered to me.
There's love. So, they're going to protect you.
Right. When Suge Knight goes in and he buys everybody TV sets, how much loyalty does that buy? Is that the type of thing where he's good now forever as long as he doesn't fuck up?
It could be, because, you know, at that time, you know, Suge had, you know, he had one of the biggest record labels ever.
Okay.
Fastest growing independent label ever. So he could continually buy TV sets, put money on people's books, a commissary. Gotcha. So literally you're buying loyalty as long as you keep feeding the gorilla.
Because that's the other thing. Like, you can't just go in, buy a TV set, and then never buy anything else again, right?
Correct. No.
Because there's somebody who didn't get a TV.
Sucker a little bit once they see, oh, okay, this is the guy that is buying his
buying his way.
Here.
No question. But at the same time, I mean, winning the favor. Who cares how you get it? You just want it. You know,
as long as you're in there for a limited time. If you're doing life, it's like, okay, I might need to get some respect.
Or you got enough money to last you for a lifetime. You know,
right.
Like
really
right now,
good TV.
You know, Suge just pled guilty to 25 years, so now he's probably gonna have to do the same thing over again that he did when
Except he doesn't have as much death row money coming in.
Exactly.
Now it's
and
gonna
there's
be
a lot of
more
people that
difficult.
don't like him.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people who don't like him.
Yeah. You know, he killed. They found him guilty of killing Terry Carter. So you know, he's one of the founders of the Blood. So
it's not good.
He has a lot of issues.
Wait, Terry Carter, is that the guy he ran over?
That's the guy he ran over. Yeah.
Is that who that guy was?
That's Terry Carter. Yeah.
I had no idea who he was until you just said that.
Yeah, he's one of the founders of the Bloods.
That's not good.
It was 3 guys, Big Puddin', Terry Cadeau, and Terry Carter. All 3 of them are dead now. And 2 of them, got killed behind death row. Puddin', who was really the muscle guy, was shot in the back while he was with death row, and he later died in a convalescent home.
Had you met any of those guys?
I knew all of them. Yeah,
You did.
yeah, I knew all of them.
What do you think your advantage was in the drug game? Why were you able to go to certain heights that so many other people weren't able to?
I mean, it's really the same way I'm doing everything right now. I always look for the best people I can find. I try to align myself with great people. In the drug business, I would look for a guy who was down on his luck, but was a great guy. They got people walking the street that are great people, but haven't got that break that they need, or nobody has discovered them, or they haven't learned which button to turn, or which doorknob to open, or which phone call to pick up to get them to that next level. And what I tried to do is I tried to align myself with those people who could get me to that next level. I'm always looking for somebody who's better than me, who's brighter than me, to surround myself around. And that's the way I do life with everything that I do. I'm always looking for people that just going to be able to help me get to the next level. And I'm always trying to find somebody that's smarter than I am.
You were also quiet, right? Like, I mean, that in a way that you weren't showy. There wasn't this thing. A lot of people end up on magazine covers and things like that before they go to jail or anything. People just kind of know. I don't think anybody outside of the streets knew anything about who you were until after all this story had been told.
Yeah. Well, I tried to play it low key because
You weren't wearing the fur to the fight.
no,
Right.
no,
Do you think
no.
Nicky Barnes made a judgment error when he did the Sunday Times?
Absolutely. I mean, he got famous though.
But yeah, isn't there a thing where
The fame is bad.
but you're making all this money and you're so successful at what you're doing, and you see other people getting credit for it. Doesn't it ever creep up on you that you're like,
Well,
I want that credit. I want people to know.
It's according to what you go into the game for. When I went into the drug business, I was looking for a stepping stone. I didn't want to be a career drug dealer. That was never my plan. My plan was I was going to get in, make enough money to paint my car and give me some rims, and I was going to be out.
Did you have a $900 million car?
Yeah, at what point do you realize, okay, this is not just something I'm going to jump in and jump out of?
Well, you start off making $20 a week, right? And then you start making $500 a day, and then you're like, whoa, I might be on to something here. And then next thing you know, you're making $100,000 a week, and you're like, I'm really on to something. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and make me a nice next egg, and then walk away. But it's tough, man. I believe to stop selling drugs is tougher than to
start.
To stop using. I think it's easier to stop using than it is to stop selling because, listen, when you use, people will tell you, hey, you effing up. But when you selling, everybody going to be going,
Yeah.
Right.
Bravo.
Well, of course they are. You
No
made
one's
something of yourself.
Yeah.
Look at you.
No one's
the
going to say
millionaire.
you gave us all cars. You have to get out of that business. Yeah, I guess so. Everyone's encouraging you to keep going.
When do you realize that, how do you realize, I should say, that wholesale is the way to go? And what do you do with that amount, just the sheer amount of drugs that you had to transport? Because you see guys trying to figure out, just a pocket full. People get busted for.
Yeah.
The amount that you're going through.
They slipping. The first day that my buddy showed it to me, it was so small. I was like, man, the police will never catch me with this.
Right.
And I was always correct.
Yeah.
I would just throw it in the
Then
trunk.
you have a room full of it.
You just throw it in the trunk of a car in the back of a van. I mean, if you're driving right, and then what we would have is we would have what we would call decoy cars.
Yeah.
If we move in a large quantity, then we would have 3 or 4 decoy cars that would be surrounding this particular car.
Right.
And wherever it goes, they would block. If a cop came.
Did you ever drive the car that had the drugs in it?
Of course not.
That's where you find that great guy.
In the beginning, I think I was only in the game about 3 months before I hired my first person that started to take all the risks that I used to take, and it pretty much moved me almost in a position of invulnerable. especially at the time that we started, because I didn't know about conspiracy at first.
Right.
I thought that the only way you could go to prison for drugs is you get caught with it in your pocket or in a bag or something like that. I didn't know
Rico. Yeah.
How do you
I didn't know
find?
about conspiracy.
How do you trust a guy? Like, okay, this guy's going to drive the drug car, and if he gets pulled over, he won't
Flip.
He won't
tell on me.
Well, he's probably been to jail before.
So he knows the code.
I mean, we got plenty of guys in our neighborhood like that. Been to
Right.
jail all their life, in and out of jail every week. And he just can't figure out how to stay out of prison. It's almost like a second home to him. So you get that guy now, and you can teach him how to stay out of prison, because not only do you teach him the way you avoided the cops, but you also know that if he get busted, he's a stand-up guy.
Are they making a series about you, based on you?
We working on it. We working on the TV. We're working on the movie right now. I'm hoping that my man Kush finishes this script here in the next couple weeks. And we fund it right now for the movie. We got all the money in the bank. I'm working with Reginald Hudlin and Kim Hardy for the motion picture. We're also talking with Zach and Mona Scott about the TV series. I'm hoping that I get it done here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, but don't you worry they're going to take artistic license? Like you watch El Chapo or one of those shows. Like they kind of create characters to just tell the story a little bit easier, or they do scenes like they didn't really happen. Are you worried about losing any kind of control and your life being told the way you don't want it to be told?
Well, that's one of the reasons my movie hasn't already been done, because when I went to the studios, basically what they were telling me is that they were going to give me some money and have me to walk away, and I think that my story is too important to just let somebody take it and turn it into Hollywood, because I think people can learn from my experience, and that's why I did the documentary. You saw the doc already, didn't you?
Yeah, on Netflix.
So I really feel important that I really think that it's important that our young people get to see a real drug story from start to end, and I think that it's going to be very educational for them when they get started, because not only did I deal with it from the cellar, but I lived with people who used. I stayed with them. I wasn't the guy who made the money and moved out of the neighborhood, but I actually stayed in my neighborhood. I stayed in the houses with people who actually used, because I didn't think there was nothing wrong with using. I just stopped using on my own.
Oh, you were addicted to drugs at one point.
Just for a couple weeks.
What were you doing?
Coke.
Coke,
Yeah.
not crack or anything like that.
Crack and coke, they all the same.
Oh, really?
How did you get? How did
You
you
can't
get?
separate the two.
I have.
How did you get? How did you get over it?
I just quit. I woke up one morning. I started using it. I got up to an ounce of cocaine, and at that time I was considered rich, $9,000, and everybody was like, "Oh man, let's have a big party and snort up and smoke up all your coke." And I was like, "All right, let's do it." Well, I wasn't saying it to use up all my stuff, but I was like, "Oh yeah, let's have a party." I celebrate with my friends, and we started putting it in weed, and next thing I know, I woke up and I had like $300 to my name, and I was like, you know what? This is not what you got into this for.
Mm-mm.
Today was the last day. It's over, and I quit.
What do drug shows get wrong? What do a lot of them like? What's something that they do that is just that they just are missing?
Well, first of all, they don't want to. It's something about Hollywood, man. Hollywood is a strange animal, right? They love drug dealers stories, but they don't love the drug dealers. It's like they don't want us to be on the set. They don't want us to show them what really took place. Like this movie that they stole my stuff from, Snowfall or Flake or whatever it's called, John Singleton. John read my script. He was one of the first people to buy one of my books. And then he comes out with the show called Snowfall. And I'm like, what the hell, John? And then you didn't even call me over and ask me give me a job,
Yeah, consultation or something like that.
Yeah,
a consultant.
something.
Did you watch it going like, I know that's lifted. I know that. I know exactly where you got this stuff from.
I took the knee. I couldn't watch it.
That's a ballsy
Wow.
move.
Yeah.
To screw over Freeway Rick Ross.
Yeah, it wasn't. But I'm not trying to go back to prison. You
Smart.
know, I ran into him one day too, coming down some stairs, and
How was that for him?
I looked at his pants to make sure he didn't have pen in his pants, because his face showed that all over him, right? And he's like, "Oh my God, I saw a ghost."
But do you ever wish like that? There's ways of getting things done many years ago that you probably can't incorporate anymore. Don't you ever wish that you had those available?
I wish I did. But you know what? Like I said before, those same skills that I had my success inside of the drug business, I'm actually seeing them come to fruition right now in the legit world. You know, I'm having some successes, not to numbers yet that I had in the drug business, but I feel like I'm finna touch some of those numbers. I feel like my numbers are getting ready to be crazy. People are becoming aware, you know, that I am alive, that I'm not dead, that the rapper who stole my name is not me. So it's just a matter of time, you know, and you know, I just keep hitting that ball, you know.
Have you bumped into him at all or no?
No, he keeps too many bodyguards with him.
You're talking about the other Rick Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question. Okay, so selling a drug.
You've done this before, haven't you?
Yeah, I've sold some drugs. No,
Yeah.
but it's not the hardest thing to sell, right? The
Not
drug.
at all.
I think Chris Rock had a joke about how like the drug sells itself, right? You don't really need to market the drug. It's addictive.
Well,
it makes you
it's
feel
a little
good.
more
It's
to it than that. It's a
Fair,
little.
fair. I'm not trying to diminish that. But what fascinated me was not the ability to sell something that everybody already wants. It's the ability to scale up a business while it being illegal. For
Yeah.
me, that seems like the hardest thing. Making $900 million while the feds are watching is way harder than selling like cycling classes.
It's definitely tough when you're dealing with all those elements, and that's when I look at it, and I look at drug dealers. You know, when I go out and I talk to these young people about selling drugs, and the point that you just made, like not only do you have to beat the cops, but you got to beat your customer too, because you don't know when the day that this guy who you've been selling to is going to pull his gun out and say, you know what, we're not buying that shit no
Right.
more. We're going to take it today. You know, so you got to always deal with that as well.
So how do you transition that into the real world? Now you're selling a book, right? There's tons of people that sell books. People aren't addicted to books. How do you translate that
Some
skill
people are
set?
addicted to books.
Yeah, maybe
Nobody in this room.
nobody's sucking dick for books, right? So it's a different addiction.
Well, they might.
I have, yes, but it was a really nice
they might
coloring
suck
book.
the author's dick.
Yeah. It was a really good book.
But you know what I'm saying, right? It's like it's definitely a different dynamic, right? So now you gotta transition marketing. You probably have to rely way more on marketing in this world where you have to rely way more on protection in the.
Well, no, you had to have marketing in the other world as well, because what separates one dealer from another dealer? Why should I buy from you and not buy from Jim?
How'd you get that? How'd you do that?
Marketing,
What'd you
customer
do?
service. You know, you treat them right. You give them a better price. You give them a better product. You know, you cater to the customer. You up later. You get up early in the morning. I mean, the same principles that work with a book. If you do a book, what you want, you got to have substance in your book. You know, if you're selling a book and it has no substance, nobody's gonna come back and buy it. So if you're selling cocaine and it's really mud, nobody's gonna come back and buy it.
So on that level that you were on, like, you know, there's all these fights guys have over territories and who sells here and who sells there. You didn't have to really deal with that, did you, because
No.
of the level you were on?
I didn't have to deal with that. Most guys couldn't match my price. So if it was a guy that was competition, I would go to him and I would say, okay, let's see who got the best price. If your people will give you the best price, I'll buy from you. If I got the best price, you buy from me.
Right.
Aren't you worried about being killed all the time?
Not really. You don't really have to worry about that when you are carrying your business a certain way. And then you know the guys that you're talking to. Like, I didn't just go on the street and see some kid walking down the street and be like, hey, you want to sell cocaine? It doesn't work like that. It's a clientele. Just like it's a clientele for that shirt you're wearing on. What is that? Trap music?
Have you been?
The Trap Music Museum.
T.I. opened a museum in Atlanta that like kind of shows the history of trap music.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So somebody had to build up a clientele where people want to go to trap music and see the museum. So it's the same thing with selling drugs. You know, when people come to L.A., guys from out of town, they looking for Rick Ross. Okay, why I'm looking for Rick Ross? I know I ain't gonna get robbed. I know I'm gonna get what I want. It's guaranteed. You know, it's the same thing.
And anybody that could mess up, so that's what you're offering, right? That's like part of the business plan. And anybody that messes up that part of the business plan messes up the business.
Correct.
So you're protecting those assets, right?
Absolutely.
And how do you handle people that mess that up? How do you handle your employees that mess that up?
Well,
in a world,
you just kick them out the organization.
and it's simple as that. You're not worried about blowback.
No, what they gonna do? Go to the cops and tell?
Right.
I mean, that's the worst thing that could happen. But in our neighborhood, it's a taboo to go to the cops and tell.
How about if you catch somebody stealing? I'm sure that happens sometimes.
They steal all the time. That's part of the game. I looked at it like this here. I started with $125. So I'm always ahead of the game.
Right.
I'm always ahead. $125. I'm always ahead of the game. I've been ahead of the game since I started.
Well, sorry, Seb. That's a really like that. The way of looking at it like that wouldn't frighten somebody into not doing it. So how do you guarantee that they don't do it, or what's the deterrent?
I don't guarantee that they won't do it. They're gonna steal. I know they're gonna steal. I know right now that people are gonna steal from me right now. But guess what? As long as I win more than I lose, I'm good with it.
So that's your philosophy. You'll allow a certain amount of stealing.
Breakage.
As long as you're still breakage. Yeah, it's just
like any store.
Or
like
the shipping docks, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Anytime people ship products, a couple bikes fell off the cart or whatever.
It's built into the business.
It's built in.
And and you're not worried that people could go, oh, we could steal from this guy.
Yeah.
And they're going to do that. They're going to try you. And I don't care who you are. They tried El Chapo. I guarantee you that, and they say he killed people.
Right.
But I guarantee you people figured out how to steal a little something from him. And they did it.
Yeah.
And some of them probably got caught and got their head cut off.
They certainly did. Yeah.
When you went to jail the first time and you got out, was your empire still left for you, or had that been picked through and rummaged through
It was gone.
It was gone.
Yeah, only thing I had left was a couple I think I might have had one house left, and I had the old theater left, which was my ace in the hole. I was really had put my plans on that theater. That theater was going to put me in a position that would have been out of this world.
So was that because you had to spend so much on legal fees and things like that, or is that because the people that were around after you were in jail were like, well, we'll just
they put in the paper that when you come up selling drugs, they tell you to put all your property in other people's names.
Yeah.
So I did.
And then what happened with those people?
So when you go to jail, they put in the paper, front page of LA Times, Rick Ross is getting a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Mm-hmm. Oh, he no longer needs to.
So they
go ahead and sell
keep
it.
the property and sell it and do what they want to do with the money.
Aunties, uncles, cousins, everybody, just like, and then it's like, I guess it's like everybody starts to talk to everybody. Like, oh, I'm keeping mine. Me too.
Yeah.
So now you come home now, you got to kill your whole family, right?
Yeah. Was there any discussions you had to have, like, where's my stuff? Do you come back after 13 years?
I didn't even ask for it. When I came home, I had refocused my mind on what I had to do, and I'm not one who chases bad money. And that, you ever heard of throwing good money after bad money? Mm-hmm. I've learned that, and I did that a few times in the drug business. Like a guy, he messes up and he comes back and he got a great story, and you say, all right, I'm gonna give you another chance. And this is a good guy. He's been good to you before, so you really want this guy to do well, but it just doesn't work out. So
he fucks up again.
He fucks up again. So you don't keep trying to get him back. You like cut your losses. Like, okay, this guy, he lost, he fell off, something happened to him. I don't know what it is, but he's not going to work out. And that's the way I came home. With all the stuff I did in the drug business was done and over with. I was going to take on a new life, a new leaf, and put all my focus in there, because I understood that I had never gave myself a chance to run a real business other than selling drugs. Mm-hmm. The only business, I had motels and junkyards and tire shops, but when I bought all that stuff, I always put somebody else in charge. I never took it myself and said, you know what, I'm going to run this. And that's why I had never been successful at a business, because I had never ran it myself. And then I looked at it, I was saying, well, I would never give nobody my whole dope sack. And let them take all that and run with it and don't supervise them and don't say nothing. So I said that I want to see now if I take those same principles and actually run the business myself, how's it going to work out?
That's interesting, because in order to run that business, you have to pay attention to every single detail, because you're worried about getting arrested, getting robbed. When it's an illegal business, you have to worry about everything. If you can take that attention to detail and put it into a legal business, it seems like you'd be way ahead of the game. Like that's probably the secret that a lot of failed businesses don't. They don't put that kind of detail into everything that they do.
Oh, no question. And I just, I'm just excited to be able to do legal business now. I mean, I'm like, I can't sleep. I can't wait till the day starts.
You can tell people when you succeed.
Yeah.
It's allowed. Everybody can know.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so much better, and even now, I've already slept just since I've been out. I'm reading books about the internet, how to use the internet better, and
Oh yeah, that was a huge change from when. I mean, you went away in '96 and came out, I think, 2009. The internet was.
I only stayed out for 6 months. I barely got pussy when I was out them 6 months.
Wait, you from when to when?
I got out in 94, and I went back in 95.
Oh,
so I only stayed out 6 months.
When did you first go in?
89.
Oh, 89. Okay, so it adds
I
up
had
to
a
about
6-month
20.
break.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's
Oh,
6
you
months.
didn't get laid the minute you got out?
I did, but it was like you didn't get it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's got to be awful. You finally get used to life without it as much as you can, and this is not.
You're right back in.
And then all of a sudden you're right back in jail.
Yeah. So I really didn't touch the internet that 6 months. And the internet wasn't even popping.
He's only 94.
Yeah, the internet
You
really
have
came
dial-up?
out. Really, I think they said after Google really started popping after the World Trade Center thing is when Google really went crazy.
Yeah, the people would use it, and the internet was getting like we would use it for the radio show, but it wasn't every single aspect of your life. It wasn't like your banking. It wasn't everything you do.
They were still rejecting it. I remember being in college and when Facebook came out.
Yeah, of
and
course.
Remember, you needed like a college email to get on it, and I think we all rejected it initially. We're like, this is corny. Why would you post your pictures? It took forever to upload everything. It was stupid. Yeah, and now we're obsessed with it.
So when you go in 95, and that's when it's life without the possibility of parole.
Correct.
So do you sit there going, oh my God, that last 6 months was literally my last 6 months of freedom. This is what it's going to be? Or did you?
I felt like that at times.
You did?
Yeah, I did. It was like, especially when I first the first day. Matter of fact, when I saw that it was cops, that it was a setup, it was like, oh,
because
damn.
you get out of you go to jail for selling drugs. You get out of jail for the 6 months, and the story that I've heard is that somebody was looking to have you introduce them to somebody else.
That's what it was. It was an introduction.
But
what they got me with is what they call aiding and abetting, brokering. They say I was the broker in the deal.
And it was like that scene in Blow, where George Jung is looking around like, oh no.
Same
no,
same
it was just
scenario.
one last thing.
Same scenario. I had this theater that I bought right before I went to prison, and my goal was to make this theater like the West Coast Apollo, where like all the new artists would come. When they come to LA, they would come on the stage, and I needed some dollars to finish it. So my old supplier started calling me saying, hey, why are you asking everybody for money? You can get your own money. And over the 6 months, he got into my head, and I decided that I would make the introduction, and all hell broke loose.
It was the whole thing was a setup.
It was a setup from the
So the
beginning.
supplier from the beginning was working with the cops trying to get you to...
Was that Oscar?
Danilo Blandon.
Yeah.
Wow. So they're like, there was something, after you got out of jail, they said, no, we want him. We want him locked up forever.
Yeah, for some reason. LA Times had did a big article on me, and Day One had did an article about my release from prison. So I guess that made me attractive to him.
Sure.
For whatever reason.
That was when things started being public. It wasn't so quiet anymore.
Right.
And now it's like, we can't have him around.
Didn't you miss the anonymity, the nice quiet days of riding around in the coroner's car and nobody looking at you? I mean, you missed the days of just blending in.
Being able to drive around with a trunk full of coke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the feds
being
let
able to
you
have
get
4 or
away?
5 girlfriends and nobody would know about it.
Do the feds let you get away with a certain amount of stuff as long as you're like humble?
Well, what the feds does, they have a list.
Right.
Like if you go in one of their offices right now, they got a list on the wall, and they got all the guys 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to maybe like 50 guys that they want. But they'll take any one of those guys in between if they can get them.
Right.
Like we really want him, but we know he might be a little tougher to get. So we'll take number 2, number 3, and just work their way around.
It just seems like that, doesn't it? Like
oh,
it seems
yeah,
like the guys who get even with Tekashi, right? You heard this, rappers. Like it seems like It seems like the feds almost stepped in. We're like, listen, you're not going to go around like wreaking havoc and acting like you're, invincible.
But he
Yeah.
can make
Come
himself.
clap
You
down.
see, you can make yourself go up on that list.
Sure.
Exactly.
Right.
With
Commit a
antics.
crime and then sing about it.
You could become more attractive. Like you could be number 20 on that list, but you might make yourself become number 2.
And once you're number 2, it's like, okay, we got to put some money.
And we can get you too. Like we've been knowing, we could have been got you, right? We've been knowing that you've been slipping, but the little crimes you've been committing is not as serious as these other guys up here. But now you just put yourself in a position to where now you're more attractive. For
So
it.
you were always, your game was always doing the work that would put you at number 1, but keeping yourself right around number 20, so they were like ignoring you, right?
Yeah.
Like that's.
I mean, that's the whole idea with the mafia, right? It's
Yeah.
like calling it La Cosa Nostra is like they didn't even have a name for it.
Right.
Once you establish a name for something, it's like, okay, we know what it is. We can take you down. When it's just like, oh, we're just a bunch of guys. We don't have any organization.
Right,
What
no
are you talking about?
organization, yeah.
Well, you can't flaunt it. Like you look at Martin Shkreli, even or Shkreli, however you say his name.
Sure.
Of course.
He, they let him out on bail, but he was such a prick about it. And he was taunting the judge, and he wanted a piece of Hillary Clinton's hair. And they're like, "Fuck you, back in."
Yeah.
Like you can't tell the federal government to go fuck themselves when they're looking at you.
What about
Right.
your boy Roger Stone?
Oh, I know.
They coming for
He
Roger.
really
Oh,
showing
yeah.
out. He come out and do a peace sign.
Roger
Hey!
did nothing wrong. I have total faith.
Roger Stone was coming on this radio show and getting himself knocked up the list
Yes,
every
he
time.
was. Every
Yeah.
time.
Every
Yeah.
time,
We've had him
calling
on a lot.
in and just knocking himself up the list, up the list.
Wow.
I have a feeling he will skate though. Roger's a smart guy. He's been there since Nixon. You don't survive since Nixon in that world and
I don't
not
know.
know how to
Rick-
slip.
But
Rick
he
Ross
moved
is-
up the list though. Now he's
Yeah.
like number 2 on
Yes,
the list.
that's a
Rick
good
Ross
point.
is a pretty smart guy, and he ended up with life without the possibility of parole.
That's a good point because somebody said Rick Ross didn't have emails. Can you imagine if he had emails back then? How easily could
Oh
he
my
get caught?
God.
So your first day, your second time in jail, the first day, and you have life without the possibility of parole. Are you looking around going, this is
The worst day of my
for
life.
the rest of my life? This
The worst
is
day
it.
of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, what the things I had to think about, like how am I call my daughters? I had a daughter at that time. She was about 7 years old, and I had promised her. I mean, she wrote me like once a week. Out of the few people who wrote me, she did write me, and she was like, "Dad, don't go back, don't go back." And now I promised her I wasn't going back, and now here I am back. And, she's used to me picking her up from school and, just doing this stuff together. And now her mom is like, she's asking about you every day. So it was like the worst feeling, to lie, not only to yourself and adults, but now I've also lied to my babies who were just so happy that I got home and now I was gone only 6 months and I'm back. So it was like just the worst feeling that you could feel.
Did you keep in touch with her the whole time? Did she stay in contact with you while you were in jail?
She did. After I couldn't face her for 6 months. My first 6 months in prison, I couldn't talk to her. It was like, how can you tell a 7-year-old kid that her dad is never coming back again? Or it's a possibility that I might never come back. So it took me a while to come to grips enough to face her and apologize to her and let her know that I totally.
Did you keep hope alive? Because you just said there's a possibility he's never coming back. But literally, in the sentence, it says there is, without the possibility, you are not coming back,
Yeah.
Rick.
They were moved out.
With, I don't know, you read the LA Times article when Jesse Katz come to interview me for LA Magazine.
Uh-huh.
And that's after I learned how to read. My reading was good, well, and I discovered the issue that I knew was going to be freeing me from prison. So even after that, you still have those days where it's up and down. Because you're still dependent on 3 judges to make a ruling.
Right. Well, how did you end up? What did you find that allowed you to get out? What was the loophole?
It was 3 words. It was called continuous criminal spree.
Mm-hmm.
A continuous criminal spree is where somebody is out committing crime and they've never been brought to justice.
Mm-hmm.
What they charged me with is the 3 strikes. And in order to be a 3-striker, you have to go to prison. You have to commit a crime, go to prison, and get out. Then get out and commit another crime, go to prison, and get out again. And then if you commit a 3rd crime, then you're a 3-striker.
That's the third.
Well, mine was a continuous criminal spree, even though I was selling drugs in different states. I had never been brought to justice. Nobody had ever brought me and spanked my hand and say, "Hey, you're a bad boy.
Knock that
Stop
off.
it."
Yeah.
So they knocked it down to 20 years, I guess, because it was that.
So it was only
Because
2
it was that.
strikes.
See, it was only 2 strikes.
Wow.
Yeah, that was really. And what was it like when you find that? It has to be like, all right, there's no way this is too good to be true.
Unreal. And then I jump on the phone and call my lawyer, and I was like, man, I found it. And he busts my bubble.
What did he
No,
say?
it don't apply to you. Yours is from different states. If it happened all in California, you'd be good, because the law was like from city to city. You know, like if you got caught in L.A. and then you went to Inglewood and you got caught, then those would be considered the same. But mine, he said, was different because I was crossing state lines. But I was like, no, the federal government is all over the country, so it don't go by
it's a
state to state.
federal-
So not only
yeah.
did he not find it, when you found it, he didn't know that you had
Yeah.
it. Did you
Exactly.
really ask for money back from this lawyer? That's got to be frustrating when you find it and like you wonder like, why the fuck didn't the lawyer find
Yo,
it?
what am I paying you for?
Well, you know, and that was another lesson that I learned from that. You know, like guys used to tell me when I was in jail before I started doing my own case, they was like, you depend on a lawyer to do your case, as serious as your case is. And what they made me understand is that you should never depend on somebody else to do for you what you should be doing for yourself if it's important to you. Because they was like, well, he got a wife. He's going to go home and be with his wife. Where you going to be at?
Right.
In my cell. He going to be with his kids. Where you going to be at? You're not his only client.
Right.
He has other clients.
And the fact that the case is done anyway.
You're already in jail. Now it's
it's
an
like,
appeal.
yeah, what's he gonna do? Spend an hour a week on like, no, nothing. He's
Probably not even that.
Right.
So what they made me understand is that I should be fighting my case the same way I sold drugs. And that's what I did. I started reading 18, 19 hours a day.
you're just reading legal books.
Yeah, I started reading legal books.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know how many legal books I read. I read over 300 business books about doing business.
After reading all those books, were you like, man, I could really sell drugs now?
I could kill in a drug game right now, without question. But I feel like I can kill in any game I go into. I
Right.
mean, there's no business that I don't feel like I'm going to punish the business world. You know, the business world finna
Right.
see some stuff that you know, I'm getting ready to start throwing my weight around.
If you were to sell drugs now, how would you do it?
I haven't even thought about that. But it's
Stop
really
lying. You know you
it's,
don't.
no, it's really the same principles. I mean, you want to treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Yeah.
You want to make everybody feel special. And when you do that, they have a tendency just to cater to you. You know, if you give somebody something, it's like when I was in jail and I was at what they call the New Rock, Lompoc, USP, and
New Rock City.
they had me in the middle of the hallway. I had to. My job was right in front of the captain's office. It was about 10 or 15 of us, and our job, we had to mop the floor. It's a floor about 40 feet long, both ways, and our job was to mop the floor. 10 of us, so you know we would mop this floor 1,000 times a day. But they really wanted us right next to the captain's office so he could keep an eye on us. And we had to have red tags and so forth. And what I did is I noticed that everybody came past us. You know, you had to pass the captain's office going to the yard. And so what I did is I just started something simple as just saying hi to everybody. And some of the meanest, toughest, racist guys, what I noticed is when they would walk by, they started beating me to saying hi. Like, hey, what up, Rick? Before I could say what up to them, they started sending it to me. It was just like a little game I started playing. So one of the things that I found out is that whatever you give to people, they have a tendency to give it back to you.
Just a friendly interaction for people who are not used to getting a lot of friendly interactions.
Exactly. And it changed the whole world. And these guys became almost like an ally to me. Like they genuinely liked me just because, you know, everybody likes to hear their name called.
Yeah, if you just, I guess so.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
The whole show is based on it.
No!
Hey, Dad.
That would have been a better opening for Cheers, just you mopping and a guy walking by. That's really, I guess it's a smart psychology, though.
Yeah.
To use as a guy is coming by just to say hello. I'm sure there were some guys that didn't respond too.
No, I don't remember anybody that didn't
they
work
all
on.
did.
I mean, even if a guy didn't, I still would do it anyway.
And eventually you break
and
him.
eventually you break them down. You know, it's just a will. You know, just plain will. So if you use those same principles, and then the other thing that I found out that if somebody likes you, they're not gonna see you do bad. They're gonna make sure that you are right. You know, just like if you had a friend and you saw that he was trying his best, but you know for some reason he just can't get it going.
Yes.
You're gonna help him.
So when you're, I mean, whatever business you're in the business of being liked, right? You're in
Absolutely.
the business.
That's the first line of
So
of
how do you
defense.
deal now when you're getting into legal business of the people who are coming up to you going like, you flooded communities with drugs, you killed people, you destroyed
I
families?
don't get that much. And
You
then
don't. They don't, because they'll say it probably not to your face.
I have got it, in the audience, somebody stand up and say, hey, my mother OD'd on cocaine, your cocaine. And I was like, what year did she OD? And then she'll say, 93. I was in prison.
That was somebody else's.
But then there's the other thing, you have to acknowledge it too. Like, I was selling drugs and people died doing drugs. Yeah,
I was stupid. I done did some stupid stuff. I ain't the only one. Who else out here never did anything stupid? Raise their hand up. And then everybody.
Right. Right.
Is it part of the American dream to sell drugs?
Absolutely.
You see these like really wealthy, prominent American families that made their bones essentially either in the drug or alcohol game, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, the Kennedys, right? Weren't
Sure.
they involved in
Running
the opium
bootleg,
trade?
Joe Kennedy,
Running
yeah.
bootleg, right? So do you think like 100 years from now we'll look back at the Rick Rosses and see them?
Did anybody ever thought
that
that marijuana would be legal in America?
Right.
It's true.
I mean, you can walk down the street in L.A. right now and smoke marijuana. They sell it on every corner. It's like when I got home from prison and I saw that, I was like, what? Like every corner in L.A., they got a marijuana shop.
Yeah, they're
Every single corner.
Well, they're medical. It's all
No,
medical.
it's recreation now.
Oh, recreation.
Yeah,
recreation.
recreation now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they getting ready to do lounges, where you can go to the club
Absolutely.
and smoke. And
But I mean, I also think that it depends on how the story's told, and more, the stories are being told honestly to how people feel. Like nobody's mad at Pablo Escobar. Like nobody's watching.
Except for families of the victims.
It's families of the
Yes.
victims. But when you watch those shows, people aren't getting mad. They're going like, oh, especially the beginning. Oh, that's so cool.
I could have
That's
did that. I could have did that.
Yeah, exactly. And they're. I think that we are entering this space where you're, Rick Ross, going to be in a pretty good position because people are open to the idea of applying the business end of
Absolutely.
things into stuff
100%.
that isn't drugs, right?
100%.
Because there is a. I mean,
And we're
Dude.
tired of letting these people think for us. I mean,
Right.
we've been letting these people in Washington sit down and they thinking for us, and they haven't even walked the street in 50 years. They haven't walked down none of the boulevards in no city. They just sit back
Right.
in a big desk and smoke cigars and make decisions for everybody. And then we out here, we sensible. We got enough sense. Like I tell people that we have enough sense that our kids are not running around taking rat poison. Why?
Right.
We got to figure out why our kids don't take rat poison.
Right.
If we
They're
figure
eating
out why
Tide
they won't
Pods.
take rat poison, then we can figure out how to get them off drugs. It's as simple as that.
There's a reason. The reason I wore this sweatshirt, I knew you were going to be here, and
you thought
but
I'd
I-
think you were cool.
No,
Oh, cool.
well,
Trap
yeah,
music
maybe
fan.
that's
pink.
Oh,
Cool.
cool.
No, the real reason.
Space Jam, trap music. He must be a cool dude.
I hope he likes me. No, the reason I did is because I was really impressed that T.I. took control of how his story was told. When you make a museum, you
Totally.
set the timeline for trap music or whatever it is.
What is trap music? I've never heard
It's
the
just
term.
music essentially about the drug trade and
Oh.
really specifically to Atlanta.
Was he a drug dealer?
Yeah,
one point.
Maybe.
maybe.
Who knows? Who's to
Allegedly,
say?
I'm not gonna say
Allegedly,
that.
yeah.
Good
Who's
point.
to say?
Good point. Listen, so he's snitched on himself for many hours. But essentially, I walked into the museum, and then the timeline starts with T.I. Now, who knows if he was the guy who started trap music? But he put the flag down. Like, who knows who got to the moon first? But if you go to the moon, there's a fucking American flag on the moon, and it shows you the importance of setting the timeline.
I think we definitely got there first.
Yeah,
though.
we definitely did.
We
We
definitely
did, yeah.
They
Some
would've told.
aliens might have got there. They just don't have flags.
They don't have flags.
Right? They dug all those deep holes. They were like, "That's a cavern."
It was
right?
smooth before, right?
Boom,
Could
exactly.
be. Could
Yeah.
be.
So what I'm saying is, like, for you, the storytelling is crucial
Absolutely.
because right now people are like, "Oh, that's the other Rick Ross,"
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and if you retell the story, it's like, "Oh, that guy in Miami." No, that's the other.
Especially
Rick
because the one in
Ross.
Miami's
Yeah.
been calling himself the boss for so long. He's going to be in first place. The boss.
I know. He was your CO.
Were you upset?
Right? It's like,
Well, he got in trouble. Rick Ross, the rapper, got in trouble for, I guess, mentioning guys' names that he shouldn't have mentioned.
oh, yeah.
in
Yeah, he
songs.
did get in trouble for that. Larry Hoover. And
yeah.
And the other guy, do you know
Big
those
Meech.
guys?
Yeah, I know. I don't know Larry personally. I know Meech from the telephone. He came after I was already in prison. But I know him.
Do
So
they
what is
like
it-
getting mentioned in songs by the other Rick Ross?
Well, without permission, you
Right.
know, it's kind of disrespectful.
Right.
I mean, even what he did to me is disrespectful. But
You don't see it as somebody maintaining your legacy. Like, you don't see it as somebody who's like, I admire Rick Ross so much, I'm going to name myself after him.
Well, you know, it's a certain way to do that.
I see.
You know, there's rules.
It's called payment.
Especially,
You're saying there's
you're getting out
a
of prison.
compensation element.
You're getting out of prison, you're broke. You know, a
Right.
car
Only a couple
maybe,
dollars, man,
and,
yeah.
you know, some
I've got a
underwear,
theater I
some
need to
socks.
finish.
Right.
You
You're
know, like-
naming your record label is named after Maybachs. you can't give me something to drive around
Give me a
in?
Civic.
Yeah.
Does the
I
fact
get
that he
that.
was a corrections officer bother you too? Like that, does that remove a little
Nah,
bit
that
of
don't
the?
that don't really bother me. It don't bother me really that
Well,
he
there's
did
COs
it.
that do
It was
things, too,
just
like-
it was just you know it's a way
There's no check.
that it should have been handled. You know, and because I know the guy loves me to death. He probably loves me bigger than anybody else in this country because he's the first person I ever see to have my name tattooed on his hands. You know? So you do that to somebody, that means a lot. You know, most people only tattoo their dead homies on their body.
Right.
Yeah.
So he tattooed,
He
and
did
he probably
think you weren't coming
he
out.
probably thought I wasn't coming back.
Right.
I probably wasn't.
Have you ever
It's literally
spoken to him?
CB4. What was the movie?
I spoke to him one time in jail, but I haven't spoke to him since then. No.
Was it a friendly communication or no?
Well, you know, I thought it was. I thought we were going somewhere. You know, I talked to him about coming down where we could talk about doing some business together because I really wanted to do business with him. You know, my first thing is business. You know, so okay, yeah, he disrespect you by using your name, but how can you make some money with him? That's what I was thinking.
And then what did he say? I can't associate myself with ex-criminals. Rick, I'm a business person.
Well, there was a bunch of video. I was obsessed with those videos. Like I think the gangsters put all these videos out where they were kind of taunting Rick Ross.
Oh yeah, the Gangster Disciples.
Yeah. Oh, they were
All
very
those guys
unpleasant
went to
videos.
jail.
What's that?
They all went to jail.
All those guys?
Yeah, they did.
Right. Well, you know what? You
They
put out
fighting incredible crimes. I mean,
put out videos online. It brings you up the list.
Well, their
doesn't it?
faces were not shown a lot of times. They didn't have their faces in the videos. But I think he canceled the tour.
he did. It was the first time that in this country that a major artist had to cancel a tour behind threats.
Behind threats.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything he could do that would make you happy at this point?
I mean, you know, I'm still
Pay him.
wide open to work with him. I don't have anybody that I wouldn't work with. You know, as long as it makes sense. I just like to stay busy, man. Just keep working, keep pushing, keep driving, and I would definitely sit down with him if he wanted to sit down and talk about how we could move forward. But you know, I sued him. You know, and it cost like $1.5 million that I owed. I owed him and his record label $1.5 million for attorney fees right now.
Oh my
Wait,
God.
he won?
How did he win attorney's
He
fees?
won a bunch of times.
I know he won, but I don't know how he won attorney's fees.
I couldn't understand how they won either. But basically, what the judge said is that I should have filed a lawsuit not a year, 5 days before I got out of prison. You get statute of limitation is 2 years, and the way she calculated the time, I was 5 days short of filing my lawsuit. So
you filed a lawsuit immediately when you got out of prison.
yeah, I did. So the way it works is whoever loses has to pay the other one's attorney fees.
Right.
So
I like that rule though, because then you don't have people just suing
for no reason.
willy-nilly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it is in Britain, I think.
But is he
Yeah.
going to make you? Is he going to make you honor that? Legally?
I don't know. They haven't put on my credit report yet. So.
He'll probably let his attorneys work that out. I don't think he wants
Well,
to.
that'd
have
be a
his-
nice fix. You know what I mean? If they walk away from that, that'd be a fair fix. Like if they don't ask you for that.
Yeah, I don't mind if they don't ask me for it.
You'd be okay with
I
that?
have no gripes with it.
I like you don't have ego with business. I think a lot of people get caught up in ego, right? They're like, this person is disrespecting me. You know, we got to wipe them off the face of the earth. And you're like, no, if you can still bring me money, then we could still do business.
Oh, absolutely. I feel totally that way. Some people do let egos get in the way. I mean, we let all kind of stuff get in our way, you know. But with me, I always try to correct myself. I'm always looking if I can figure out that I did something wrong. I don't want to do wrong. You know, I make a lot of mistakes, but not on purpose. You know, if you're doing something and it goes wrong, believe I made a mistake. Not that I purposely planned on sabotaging whatever it was, because that's not my objective.
Since you thought you were going to, at one point, die in prison and then you get out, it's kind of like, do you enjoy things that you wouldn't have enjoyed at one point?
Oh, absolutely. You get a whole new appreciation of just life and being free. You know, you figure for 20 years you can't touch a woman, You know, you can't eat certain foods. You can't go places. You can't. Well, you get to fly on the airplane when they fly you on Con Air. But other than that, you don't get to fly on airplanes. I mean, it's just so much stuff that you miss out on. And now with me being in the position that I am, I'm getting to do things now that I sold drugs to do. You know, like I used to sell drugs to go to a party and be the life of the party. You know, you want to be the life of the party, so you sell drugs to get in that position. And now I'm getting those same opportunities without, selling the drugs.
How difficult of a time would a Jim Norton, let's say Jim Norton doesn't have comedy to fall back on, he can't entertain people with his jokes. If Jim Norton like this, but he's no personality, goes into the federal prison, is he really going to be a guy who gets passed around? Is that real? Is this really going to happen to Jim?
Not if I'm there.
But how about if they're going to try to pass me around and I tell them that if they do that, I'll tell the guards?
You're out of there. You're going to PC.
Well,
yeah, Jim would. It would be tough for and other races is really tougher than black. Being black is kind of almost like a freedom card, because they don't have the same rules, that a lot of other people do. But like white gangs are really tough on their own. Like if you come in there, like it was a guy named Todd McCormick. He came in and me and Todd got to be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they told Todd that he couldn't be hanging with me so much. Like everywhere we go, because he was reading and we both doing business and we studying and we just kicked it. You know what I'm saying? And they wound up beating him up because the first day that he wasn't with me, I become kind of like his protector. But the day that I left and he didn't come, when I got back to the cell, they had two guys that came in with locks and socks and had beat him pretty bad.
Whoa. And how now you would protect him? How would, because you're not a big guy, so you would protect him through reputation or through how does that work?
If they do something to him while he's with me, then I might get in it.
And then it's a problem.
And then it's a problem with the blacks. Then it becomes a black problem and not
Now, would the blacks be like, why are you hanging out with this white guy?
No, they would never say that.
Would they now, just because, but black guys that didn't like you would still side with you in that situation?
Absolutely.
Because it's survival at that point.
Right. It becomes a race thing, right. When it's a race thing in jail, all of the white guys, like if the black and the whites get into a scuffle, even if you like a Christian or something, then you stay out of the way. You don't even come out your cell. If you're a white Christian, then you stay in your cell.
Does that happen where guys have to fight guys they like? Like the blacks and the whites are fighting and, you're friends with certain white guys?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what do you guys do? Just kind of take it easy on each other like an offensive and a defensive? We have to
I never been in that situation, Jim. I didn't fight while I was there. I didn't have not one fight the whole time I was in jail.
That's rare, right?
Well, I was smart enough to stay in the areas. They don't fight in the law library.
They don't.
No.
Why is that? Because they don't want to get banned from the library? Is that why? Or is there a reason that
it's just not an action-packed place, I would imagine.
I know,
law library.
Well, according to The Wire, D'Angelo Barksdale was killed in the library.
Oh,
right.
Well, I didn't realize that the documentary, The Wire.
That's true. It wasn't. It was a good choking.
It was just a choking.
Not much of a fight.